All right, time doesn't exist when you do. This past week, I had lunch with an attorney, and the guy's new to my networking group, and I wanted to get to know him a little bit better. I wanted to find out what made him tick. And so we walked from his office to a small downtown lunch spot that seemed to cater to well-groomed millennials with perfect beards, sitting alone, absorbed in their Apple computers. And I saw middle-aged lawyers with their white shirts and their dark jackets and their bright ties, leaning back in their chairs and enjoying each other around a large round table in the center of the room. But scattered around the room were vibrant bouquets of small groups of lovely young ladies with their long, perfect hair and tight, colorful dresses with zippers in the back, paying little attention to anyone else but themselves. And we grabbed a seat at a small high-top table near the picture-covered wall. And for the better part of 30 minutes, we got to know each other. We showed smartphone pictures of our families, discussed our mutual love for endurance sports, and talked about why we chanced upon our particular career paths. And he said that he practiced law so he could help people, period. And I thought, but I didn't say, that's some expensive schooling just to help somebody else. And then he said it was inordinately expensive to go to law school. And it was refreshing to hear someone talk with selfless passion about their career, like I heard him talk. And I too am in a couple of businesses with the singular mindset of helping people help themselves. And I live to, and I love to see people fully living their gift. After all, that's where all the fun begins. Now, how many a man has retired from a thankless job only to retire from his life sitting in his recliner watching daytime TV, minutes feeling like hours? Whereas life is meant to be lived full on and all out. At one point, with a little help, the conversation turned to the spiritual. And as my manner is, I went off on a tangent. And after about 8 minutes of talking about the joy of living our gift to the fullest, he touched my arm and he said, "I can tell what you're passionate about." And a bit embarrassed, I thought of the words of Jeremiah. His message becomes like a burning fire inside me, deep within my bones. I get tired of trying to hold it inside of me, and finally, I cannot hold it in. Jeremiah 20, verse 9 from the NCV. There comes a point in everyone's life where we have to decide if we're going to live our own dream or live someone else's dream. We either shelve our gift or put enough energy out to take it off the shelf and to keep it off the shelf. It's one short life. Quote, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the result of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition." Steve Jobs. When the lawyer and I were standing up to leave the hipster hangout, a stylish young man in his black button-up shirt and black skinny jeans slapped shut his MacBook. It got my attention, and he looked me in the eye and said, "I wish I could have joined you guys. I couldn't help but overhear your conversation and wished I had been a part of it." And I said, "I wish you had joined us too." And that lunch hour seemed like a lunch minute. Time flies when you're having fun. Time disappears when the real us appears. Luke 2, 41 through 50 from the Message. Every year, Jesus' parents traveled to Jerusalem for the Feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, he went up as they always did for the feast. And when it was over and they left for home, the child Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. But his parents didn't know it. Thinking he was somewhere in the company of pilgrims, they journeyed for a whole day and then began looking for him among relatives and neighbors. When they couldn't find him, they went back to Jerusalem looking for him. Now, how freaky would that be to lose the Christ child you had been entrusted with? God had only promised him since Genesis. His story is only written in the stars. Prophets had only visualized and spoken about his life, death, resurrection, and second coming for thousands of years. Angels had even told Papa Joe to hightail it out of Bethlehem and go to Egypt with Mary and the little Jesus before Jesus got slaughtered in Bethlehem when he was a toddler. Now they had lost the lordly lad. What to do? Joseph. Hey, Mary, you seen Joseph anywhere? Mary. No, Papa Joe. I thought you knew where he was. Isn't he with his friends? I don't know where he is. Oh my God, what the? Joseph. Kids, any of you know where Jesus is at? Kids. They shrugged their shoulders, avoiding all eye contact. No, but we're hungry. I remember when my family returned from living 3 years in Japan, and we were driving from California to Texas in a red and white Volkswagen van. It was already weird enough driving on the right side of the road after having grown accustomed to 3 years of driving on the left. But there are also 8 of us sardined into that Volkswagen minibus. Now, cramped was an understatement. So on hills, we topped out at 19 miles an hour because we were also pulling a 10-foot-long 4-wheeled U-Haul trailer. The people behind us were going bonkers. Now, 20 minutes east of the last public rest stop in Arizona, my mom, cigarette in hand, finally turned around and counted us kids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's number 6? Who's missing? Us kids. Silence. Mom, where's Sandy? Us kids. Shoulder shrugs. Blank stares all around. Mom. Oh, Bidgie-ba, which was Mom's version of cussing. Jim, Sandy's missing. I think we left her at the rest stop. Dad, fuming. What the? That's 20 minutes back there. Mom, while giving us kids an evil eye, she circled the air with her finger like a trail boss. Turn around, Jim. We got to find Sandy. 45 minutes after we first left that rest area, we found Sandy still in the same ladies' room. Mom, Sandy, why didn't you get into the van? We're 45 minutes behind schedule now. Sandy, the door was too heavy for me and I couldn't open it. Mom, glaring at the 6 of us like we were Martians. What do you kids have to say for yourself? Us kids, we're hungry. Joseph and Mary had caravaned north for a day. It took another day to get back to Jerusalem, and possibly another day looking for Jesus. Possibly 3 days without the future Messiah. Imagine. Verse 46, the next day they found him in the temple, seated among the teachers, listening to them and asking questions. The teachers were all quite taken with him, impressed with the sharpness of his answers. But his parents were not impressed. They were upset and hurt. His mother said, "Young man, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been half out of our minds looking for you." 49. He said, "Why were you looking for me? Didn't you know that I had to be here, dealing with the things of my father?" but they had no idea what he was talking about. Jesus had been so engrossed, so absorbed, so immersed in thinking, learning, and sharing with these spiritual educators that by the time he looked up, 3 days had passed. Those leaders must have felt the same way. Imagine how the questions of the Christ would have taken their minds back to a point where they too had once enjoyed their jobs. To his parents' chagrin, Jesus was fully and absolutely in the moment for those 3 days. Jesus heard things that he had never heard before. He spoke things that he had never been able to verbalize with anybody in his family before. He finally was able to put things together about the life of the Messiah, the things he himself would someday have to do and someday have to go through. He had learned and sung the stories of the Messiah before this time, but this time he felt it. He felt it. He got a full heart glimpse of what he would someday be. It had to be amazing. What about you? Remember what you felt? What you imagined you would do when you first learned that you could walk with the same power that Jesus did? Remember the mind-expanding thought that you could even do greater works than Jesus could do? Boom. For him to have been so taken, so fascinated, their words connected to something deep within him, and they had to have made him feel whole. They had to have made him feel at home like he'd never felt before. He was engrossed. He was in the moment. He was in tune. He saw it like he'd never seen it before. The same things happened to you at some point in your life. He realized his place. He visualized his calling, and he thanked God for his gift. Like a child finally hearing his mother's third call while being fully engrossed in play, we too can get lost in the gift that is us. Jesus did. Now here's the kicker. The world needs us just as much or just like it needed him. Remember, Jesus even said that we can do the same works that he did. And what? Greater works. The world needs you. The world needs the real you. The world needs you to shine like never before. The world needs your special gift, your skill set, your ability in action. A substitute you is unacceptable. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. Sink deep into the true you. Sink deep into your true self. Embrace the real you. Let your light so shine. As you get totally involved in who you were designed to be, time is going to disappear, folks. Hours become minutes. Days become moments. It's a great life, and every one of you is so vital, so necessary. So when we're living fully in the present, at the edge of our calling, time doesn't exist. We do.